I was saying come our channel so I say AGH Politics Avenue. Podcast also training because make headlines. And the jemre na yedibi Akosombo. Ni di ma yanko aya political highways ni mo jedema. Onu enye asem koto akra na eye ECG General Manager eye Julius Papana etimi ababonten ebe disclose eno maybe hu be hia se yedibi Akosombo. Na nsem o kan nyina se o ma restore power ne de ne mom no ECG AFC challenges a onua papa no speak true to power a ehu ebehia se me no mi no yebowura mu na ehwede ye ko ene de eba shine so am say hasi AGH Politics Avenue.
Indeed. The Energy Minister says mission accomplished. The final restoration to the national grid, particularly the Akosombo substation, has been done and that we're good. Can you, as the distributor of power, assure your consumers that you have enough to give them?
As for having enough, yes, we do have enough. We stopped load shedding on Wednesday, even before the last two generators were synchronized onto the grid. So we have sufficient power to distribute, and we have not shed load since Wednesday.
How much power in terms of megawatts do you have on your hand now?
Right now, we have enough to supply all our customers, and our demand is about 4,300 megawatts, and all our customers are receiving power.
And so you have the 4,300 megawatts and even more at this time?
At this time, yes. Yes. Before the last two generators were synchronized, we has stopped load shedding. So it means that we have the last two capacity as buffer to supply our customers. So
I see. So what do you say to people who have said, look, what happened at Akosombo is just one part of the problem, that the lights were going off before then. For you as a distributor, how do you read that?
It is true that before Akosombo, some customers, we have issues. And if you will recall, the Monday before the Thursday of the incident, we gave a press conference to address concerns that were coming from certain pockets of the country. So there were distribution level issues. Before that also, earlier in April, we had a problem with gas supply, and that caused us to shed load for a very brief period. So customers will see all of that as problems beyond the Akosombo problem. So Akosombo has been resolved, the gas issue has been resolved, and ECG is working to resolve the pockets of distribution problems in the network. Yes.
Let's take it a step at a time.
Yeah.
Despite the resolutions that you have just outlined, there are people who ask the question around sustainability, right? So how sustainable is the solution we have today?
Ghana has enough generation to supply customers, all our customers.
How sustainable is that?
That is sustainable. Beyond this year, we have enough generation to supply demand for this year. Yes.
Which means you're assuring the Ghanaian people that our lights won't go off, holding all other things constant because we are generating a lot.
Yes. For customers to receive electricity in their homes, we need generation, we need transmission, and we need distribution. The chain must be complete. Even for generation, we need gas supply, we need liquid fuel supply. When all of this is in place, customers receive electricity in their homes. As far as generation is concerned, we don't have a problem.
What is giving you that confidence that you would have enough power to sell to the Ghanaian people at least over the next 12 months?
So we record peaks, 2 peaks in the year. In March, April, we record the first peak of the year. And in December, we record the second peak of the year. And the December is actually the annual peak. We've recorded a peak for this year, the first peak for this year, on the 7th of April. And that was 4,350. And we didn't shed load.
Okay.
We have dependable capacity that is much higher than the peak load.
Okay.
So I know that we have enough generation to supply customers. Okay.
At the same time, you talk about distribution level issues. What are those?
So we, as we said during the press conference, we have distribution transformers. Distribution transformers serve between 200 to 500 customers. So it's a small number of group of customers. We had some of them overloaded. And so the light goes off frequently. Customers complain. And these we have identified to resolve them. We have some feeders that are going off frequently, sometimes due to vegetation control, sometimes due to people interfering with the network, vehicles running into the network. So we had these, and this happened on a daily basis. It's here, it's there, and we are addressing them. So distribution generation is not all there is to electricity supply. All the different segments of the value chain must work. And at our level, we have issues that we are addressing.
It must have cost us something to fix the problem today.
Yes.
How much did it cost us to do that?
So it's between VRA and Gridco. They mobilized to bring the power supply back. If you ask for the actual cost, not that much. It's more like the ideas and the inventions that they brought to bear to restore power supply to the people of Ghana. The restoring the control room is yet to take place. We need to rebuild the entire control room, and that Gridco will be bearing that cost. And so basically is Gridco and VRA that work together to bring an innovative solution to restore power to Ghana, to effectively bypassing the control room that got damaged.
So to clarify the question, ECG bears no cost at all in this?
In terms of direct cost, no. In terms of power that we were not able to supply to our customers, yes.
How much did you lose over the five-day period?
We will need time to estimate that.
Okay. So you don't know at this point?
No.
You do not know at this point. That's fair. Now, I want to go back to the way the problem has been solved. What we have now is a temporary solution.
Yes.
Now, you need the power to give your consumers. Yeah. From the beginning of our conversation right now, I asked you how confident you are that you could sustain what we have now. You said over a 12-month period. But we still have a control room that is not on yet. Yes. How do we reconcile the two positions you have given us as consumers, that tomorrow we won't wake up and then we'll hear that the bypass we have done is no longer working?
So let me try to explain what happened. Akosombo, as the dam, is operated by VRA. It has its own control room. Then the switchyard or the transmission system has its own control room. What's happened now is that the transmission system has lost the control room. And to bring power back, we could not wait to rebuild the entire control room to restore power to Ghanaians. So the engineers extended the control room, the functions of the control room at the power plant, which belongs to VRA, extended it to cover the transmission. So we have sufficient protection there to supply power. When the new control room is built, then that work will be reversed, that VRA will be responsible only for the power plant and the control of the power plant. And Gridco will take over the control of the transmission, the substation there.
Which means that despite the situation being a bypass and a temporary one at that,
yes,
there still a foolproof.
It is capable of supplying power to Ghanaians.
It is capable.
Yes.
It is capable. Let's come back to issues that deal.
So in power system, you always want to have what we call redundancy. Okay. So what happened now is to use one control room, which was more like a redundant feature for the transmission system to see the work of the transmission system. Yes.
Right. Let's come back to issues that deal directly with ECG, the distribution level issues that you raised earlier. Now, one of the things that we've seen you do now prior to the Akosombo substation fire is that you were changing transformers across the country.
Yes.
Have you concluded that exercise?
No.
Okay.
So we estimated that we need 2,500 transformers. We started that exercise from the beginning of April. We have installed about 200 on the ECG side. NETCO is also installing transformers in their part of the network. You know, NETCO serves the northern part of the country and we serve the southern part of the country. So together we have this program to replace transformers. And so far, we've done 200, but it's a program that is ongoing.
I see. This 200 is a fraction of the 2,500 you want to do.
Absolutely.
So for consumers, is this also a sign that intermittently we are going to lose power supply because of these infrastructure upgrades?
So we need to separate what we are calling infrastructure upgrade from the replacement of transformers.
Okay.
We have transformers that got damaged, either through overload or natural failure. They got damaged. We are replacing them. Some of them we were able to transfer the customers they supplied to adjacent transformers and in turn overloading those ones. So we need to install them back and transfer the customers back to the new ones. Some of them, because they got damaged through overload, we are putting higher capacity transformers there so that customers can have stable voltage. In addition to that, we are upgrading the whole distribution network. So we need to separate the two. The installation of the transformers is immediate. The installation of the transformers, the injection of transformers or replacement is immediate and will resolve most of the customer's problem, The reinforcement is actually working towards next year and the year after. In fact, we said that what we are experiencing today is a result of failure to invest the years before, several years before. And if you don't do that, you can manage this year. If you don't invest this year, you may be able to manage this year and maybe the year after.
But is it really the case that there haven't been investment in our infrastructure in years past?
For a very long time.
How long?
When I came back to ECG last year, all the projects that we were implementing have stalled. All of them.
Like which ones?
So I can give you examples. The people of Mpoho recently wanted to demonstrate against us. The project to resolve that problem, the contract was signed in 2016. It still has not been completed. It has stalled. I have projects that were signed in 2019, in 2020, that have stalled. I have projects in Kumasi that have not been implemented and should have been implemented and closed in 2023, 2024. They stalled. No, almost all our projects that I came to meet have stalled years before I came in.
What's the nature of these projects?
Most of them is to reinforce, in other words, to build the capacity of the network to supply customers reliable and stable power.
I see.
So if you take the Mpoho one, it is when you are moving electricity over long distances, it is better to do it at higher voltages than lower voltages. When you do it at lower voltages, the losses go up. But then voltages that customers experience, what actually powers the equipment, is too low to power the equipment. So the area we were transmitting electricity at 11 kV. The project was to change from 11 kV to 33 kV. That way, customers will experience good voltage. And the areas where we have changed so far, experiencing good voltages, and they don't have any problem.
I see.
But the ones that are left to be done, they are the ones who are complaining.
I see. But again, I'm trying to find out whether or not the blanket statement around poor investment over the past years is exaggerated. Because we know a number of exercises have also taken place.
Yes.
One of which you halted when you came into office.
Which was?
The mass meter replacement exercise.
Okay.
So I want you to put all of that into perspective when you tell us that there hasn't been, investment in ECG infrastructure.
All right. So let me give you another example. I went to Ho because of the complaints coming from Ho, voltage on low voltages. The Ho BSP was commissioned by former President Rawlings in 1983. Since 1983, the load in Volta region has grown, but there has been no expansion of that. In fact, the low voltages that we are experiencing in Volta region, when you get to Kejabi, we take the line from Asiekwe to Kejabi. When you get to Kejabi, we're supposed to be having 69 kilovolts. We are having 34 in some places. You cannot even common fan, you cannot operate a fan. This work should have been done years ago, okay, years ago. So we're talking about a 43-year infrastructure that has not seen an upgrade. You cannot blame that on actions that were not taken yesterday. No, it's years of neglect.
Yes. I see. So while there may have been investments, they were made into the in the hierarchy of things, not the most important needs of ECG. Would you say? So
we admitted part of the problem was that we had not prioritized properly. Okay, let me address the metering problem. By the way, I did not halt the metering problem.
Really, what happened?
The program.
You came in February, and by March, all your regional offices were starting to halt the process. So explain that.
Yes, so I will explain that. If I take the infrastructure that I need in the distribution network to supply reliable power to customers, I must build my substations. We call them primary substations. So you take the power from Gridco right now at Achimota for Accra, at Achimota or Graphic Road or Spinters Road, not Spinters Road, Ajirigano. We take the power from Gridco. We step it down to 11 kV. And then we step it further down to the 220 volts that customers use in their homes. The cost of the meter compared to the cost of what I need, the lines I need to build from Ajirigano or from Spinters Road or from Jowulu to the home, the cost of the meter is a fraction, less than 2%. Okay? Now, if I put a lot of emphasis on just the meter without building the vehicle that will move the power from the transmission grid to customers' homes, I'm not prioritizing properly. And again, the program was such that we said mass meter replacement, which means that a contractor has the power to move into the community and replace any meter that the contractor wants to replace. without ECG coming in, determining which ones to replace and which ones not to replace. And in fact, customers were complaining. Some of them, their meters were 3 months old, 6 months old, 1 year old, and we were replacing it. Meanwhile, it takes 10 years to recover the cost of the meter. So I'm replacing meters that are still useful.
We and some who do because of channel so mamma so jemre. That's an so bad in the Dumbi Edominia. Yebesan Asomo.